Good day everyone, I am Salverfisi Sarsaliho, a Group 1, which is assigned in Chapter 3, Biological Theories. So what is biological theories? It is a criminal behavior results from a complex interplay of social and biological factors. Social factors are reflections of environmental sources of influence, such as socio-economic status. The terms biological and genetic are often confused, in part due to the fact that they present overlapping sources of influence. Biological factors are more inclusive, consistent of physiological, biochemical, neurological, and genetic factors. Genetic factors refers to the biological factors that are inherited. Social factors, on the other hand, it cannot be inherited. Until recently, the majority of criminological research focused solely on social contributors, either minimizing or negating the importance of genetic and biological influence on criminal behavior. In the past 15 years, however, a large body of evidence has accumulated that suggests the etiology of criminal behavior may be better understood when genetic and biological factors are also taken into account. Evidence for the role of genetic factors in the etiology of criminal behavior clear is the suggestions that biological factors mediate the relationship. So here in biological theories of crime causation, some genetic theories believe that chromosomes aberrations may be the cause of crime. These theories it stated that people with XYY chromosome syndromes, the so-called macho men who have extra Y chromosomes, are predisposed to commit crimes. Research conducted in the Scottish prisons found 3% of inmates who have XYY chromosomal aberrations. Otherwise, such persons are present in the general populations with a share of 0.2%. These claims are completely unjustified and meaningless if we take into account the low proportions of such persons in the general populations. So, XYY syndrome is a rare chromosomal disorder that affects males. It is caused by the presence of an extra Y chromosomes. Males normally have one X and one Y chromosomes. However, individuals with the syndromes have one X and two Y chromosomes. So, that's in the chromosome syndrome. Another study on crime held that hormones have an important impact on the existence of aggressions. Based on research conducted on animals, it was found that elevated levels of hormone in women and men affect the emergence of aggressive behavior. These studies mainly dealt with the influence of higher level of testosterone affect the occurrence of aggressive behavior. Elevated testosterone levels will affect the increase in aggressive behavior, while subtracting testosterone level will act to reduce aggressive behavior. So here in testosterone, it is the primary sex hormones and anabolic steroid in males. In humans, testosterone plays a key role in the development of male reproductive tissues such as testes and prostate, as well as promoting secondary sexual characteristics such as increased muscle and bone mass and the growth of the body hair. The studies that have dealt with studying the brain tried to relate the aggressiveness and some brain areas and so to establish the existence of brain centers that regulate aggressions. They concluded that the temporal lobe and some subcortical brain areas are responsible for the regulations of aggressiveness behavior. So temporal lobe is the regions where the process, and not surprisingly, it is also a region where auditory, language, and speech comprehension systems are located. The auditory cortex is located in the upper banks of the temporal lobe and within the sylvian fissure. Experiments conducted on animals showed that stimulations of specific areas can affect the development of aggressive behavior, but also to condition the animals to complete obedience. In 1969, Delgado conducted experiments on animals using a radio receiver implanted in the brain to control the aggressiveness of animals stimulating their limbic system, i.e. the hypothalamus. Delgado found that regardless of cortical stimulation, the animal will behave depending on environmental conditions. Although the chemical processes can artificially induce and encourage the aggressive behavior, it is not clear what affects the hormones to stimulate the hypothalamus to act differently. According to biological theories, the punishment will not affect deterring the individual from the crime because the person or the criminal has some inherited remnant, stigmata, etc. Biological theories of crime causations were the first theories where scientific methodology was used. So the limbic system, it is the part of the brain involved in our behavioral and emotional responses, especially when it comes to behaviors we need for survival, like feeding, reproduction, and caring for our young and fight.
The father of modern criminology was the Italian Cesare Lombroso, 1835 to 1909. He altered the classic focus of crime from legalities and punishment to the individual. It means altered iya change ang mas nag-focus siya sa crime ug punishment para sa kada usa nga kriminal. Lombroso proposed that criminals are biologically different from other human beings. So ang iya sa pagtuo nga ang mga criminal is dili parehas sa tao, like murag kung sa iya pagsabot ang criminal murag like masamang tao or demonyo inana. He believed that criminals are throwbacks to a more primitive stage. So murag mas nibata og hunahuna of human evolution, and that the criminal tendency is herited. Nauna ko'y nabasahan nga search about siya theory nga sa base siya pagsabot sa mga criminal is kung nakay kung siguro siya pagsabot bati kag naong nya murag mo naong isugon hait og suwang inana ang iya pasabot ana is criminal dayon, so which is dili sakto kay dili man tanan ning ana. In Lombroso's view, criminals exhibit more physical and mental abnormalities than non-criminals, such as unusual skull sizes and asymmetrical facial structure. So kasagaran daw sa mga criminal is na mga diferensya sa utok, like abnormalities, marag kuwang sa pangunahuna niya. Naay uban iya pagsabot sad kay dako og ulo, dako skull niya. Ang uban asymmetrical facial structures, like dili pantay ang naong. Ang uban ang pikas dako, ang pikas gamay. So mo na iya pagsabot sa mga criminals nga pero iya sa na theory no, wa sa dakibaw. Pero sa tato din na tinuod kay na mag-uban nga bahaton na kay para lang makakaon or may kwarta, or uban dili na ka apply og trabaho kay dili ka mangita. Many of his theories were developed while he was in charge of the insane at hospital in Italy. So si Lombroso is na in charge siya sa usa ka mental hospital sa Italy niya. He encouraged more human treatment of convicts and work programs to help them become productive members of society once widely embraced. So nag-encourage siya nga maghimo siya og mga treatment para mabago ang panghunahuna sa usa ka tawo nga para dili siya mobalik sa pagkakriminal o mas musakto ang iyang panghunahuna nga mas mabuhat siya maayo sa iya kagalingon og makakakuha siya knowledge about sa mga sakto nga pangbuhaton. His ideas about criminology have largely been discredited. So kani nga idea nga iya day gibuhat is na discredited means discredited nawag tangag respeto or credibility sa mga tao. So we go to positive theorist Cesar Lombroso 1835-1909. He is a Italian physician and psychiatrist. Studied cadavers of executed criminals in an effort to determine scientifically whether criminals were physically any different from non-criminals. So, iya studihan ng mga criminals nga gipampatay to determine or mahibaw-an nga kani nga criminal is physically and any different from non-criminals kung nabadyoy kalahian nga kanang kung unsay panghuna-huna sa criminal or sa di criminal mao na siguro na iya pasabot maong iya studihan. He believed that the people were born criminals and facial features of criminals included things like enormous jaws and strong canine teeth. So sa iya pagtuo ang criminals is makita daw kung criminal ka sa pangnaong nimo. So mo na to ang katong theory nga ako gisulti nga katong nagbase ra siya kung unsay naong sa tawo nga which is dili maayo kay siyempre wa ta kay sa personalidad o attitude sa katawo if buotan ba siya dili. So si Cesar Lombroso is judgmental ra kayo jud. So kani si Cesar Lombroso was an Italian psychiatrist and military medical doctor who developed theories about the criminals. Siya ang nag-develop sa mga theories nga which is dili katuohan kay nagbase ra siya sa naong sa wala pa siya kabaw kung unsay personality ng ataw. His theories are no longer valid today, so wala nagisugtan because sayop man sad gyud sad. Only credit which can be given to Lombroso is that he was the pioneer in endorsement of scientific method to criminology. Although anthropometric measurements were correct, the causal connection between human physical traits and criminality was deceptive. Sometimes scientists spend their whole career proving their hypothesis. So ilaan nila tanan oras para makuanan lang tanlag katinud-anan nila mga gipang istorya. Similar things happen in every area of human social activity. Development and understanding of scientific methods made possible to probe flaws of many studies in criminology and other sciences. So similar things happen in every area of human social activity. So parehas na sa katong sa mga scientists nga ila i-spend ila tanan oras or career proving their hypothesis. Mura na sa nagkita nga maniguro tag eskwela para lang natay ikapanghambog ginana nga sayo pila pagtuo nga dili sad mawala nga dapat nga kaning buhaton na kaya ni nato o sakto ni nga murag ato sila panindigan ba ana. So mura siguro to. Thank you.
Lombroso developed the theory about born criminal. In 3,000 anthropometric measurements, he found some biological traits of criminals. Biological traits of born criminals are unusual size or shape of the head, strained eyes, facial asymmetry, extended jaw and jawbone, too big or too small ears, full lips, leaned forward, abnormal teeth, wrinkled skins, nose curled up, thieves have a flat nose and murderers have a big nose. Tall long, too small or flat chin, dark skin, and tall long arms. So according to Lombroso, persons who have 5 or more biological traits are born criminals. Beside physical traits, Lombroso introduces some other traits of born criminals. So, matud pa ni Lombroso, ang mga tao nga adunay lima o labaw pa nga biological nga mga kinaiya na tao nga mga kriminal. So, gawas sa physical nga mga kinaiya, ipaila ni Lombroso ang ubang mga kinaiya sa natao nga kriminal. First is hypersensitivity to pain and touch. So, sobra sa pagkasensitibo sa kasakit ug paghikap. So, to is use of special criminal slang. Third is grotesque expression of thoughts. So, katingad-an kapag pamahayag sa mga hunahuna. So, fourth is tattoos. And 5 is unemployment, kawalay trabaho. Lombroso later changed the theory of born criminal and developed a new theory. Classification of criminals is made into 3 categories. First is born criminals, 30% of all criminals. Second is abnormal criminals, idiots, imbeciles, paranoids, melancholic, paralytics, epileptics, demented persons, alcoholics, and hysterics. And third is occasional criminals, criminaloids, criminals out of habit. Criminaloids had difficulties during their childhood and can occasionally behave delinquently. Pseudo-criminals are insane persons and those who committed crimes in self-defense. Habitual criminals had a poor education during their childhood or have been in social interaction with criminals. So, ang pseudo daw nga criminal kay kadtong nakahimong kriminal sa pagdepensa sa kaugalingon, ang naandam mga kriminal adunay dili maayo nga edukasyon sa panahon sa kailang pagkabata o nakig-uban sa mga kriminal. So further studies of Lombroso's thesis were made by Goring in 1913 and Houghton is in 1939. Goring contested Lombroso's thesis based on the experiment he made on 3,000 criminals and non-criminals. So Goring didn't find any physical abnormalities or traits on criminals. He criticized Lombroso on the issue of born criminal and found the Sachs thesis is inaccurate as well as dangerous. So Goring concluded that no one is criminal until he or she commit a crime. So Houghton confirmed Lombroso's thesis based on the research he made on 1,400 criminals and 3,000 non-criminals from 10 federal states of US. Lombroso's theory was popular in his time, but it was later debunked. Some ideas fall out of favor in science, as well as in politics with time. Lombroso's view on crime are still present today in the form of stereotypes on some minority groups. Furthermore, research conducted on police cultural behavior shows that police officers have similar stereotypes on particular racial groups. Criminology theories of crime, overview of criminology, theoretical school of thoughts. Jordan is interested in criminology and he's heard that things before the Enlightenment were pretty bad for criminals and people suspected of being criminals. but he's still not quite sure what the classical school of criminology is about. So to understand the classical school, Jordan teacher tells him to remember the 5 key principles of the classical school of criminology. They are rational. The classical school assumes that people have free will and that they choose to commit crimes. For example, if Jordan decides to steal some candy at the store, he is not forced to. Based on some free destiny, he chooses to steal that candy. Not only that, he thinks, but eat beforehand and says to himself, I really want candy and I don't have money, so I will steal it. This is the rational thinking that goes into his planning to commit a crime. So, second, hedonism. The classical school also assumes that people seek pleasure and try to avoid pain. For example, when Jordan looks at the candy in the store, he thinks about how it will bring him pleasure, so he steals it. The third, punishment. Remember how he said that a key idea was the idea of hedonism. So where people seek pleasure and try to avoid pain, well, that informs punishment according to the classical school. For example, if Jordan thinks about stealing the candy and they realize that he could go to the jail for it, he might not steal it because he'll be trying to avoid the pain of jail. In this way, the classical school of criminology believes that punishment works as a deterrent to crime. Fourth is human rights. So, Jordan has learned that before the classical school of criminology, punishments could be very harsh. Indeed, it was not uncommon to torture some who was only suspected of a crime, but that and the punishment once convicted could be horrifying. According to the classical school of criminology, all individuals have rights and society needs to respect the rights of individuals. That means that they should not torture or institute punishment that is unreasonably harsh. For example, if Jordan gets caught stealing the candy, he wouldn't expect that his punishment would involve cutting his hand off. That seems a little extreme. 5 is due process. The idea of due process is that people accused of a crime is considered innocent until proven guilty and that they have the chance to go to trial and face the judicial system. If Jordan was accused of stealing the candy and they just thrown in jail without a trial, that would be a violation of his due process.
Human rights. Jordan has learned that before the classical school of criminology, punishments could be very harsh indeed. It was not uncommon to torture someone who was only suspected of a crime, and the punishment once convicted could be horrifying. Ibawan ni Jordan na grabe ang silot kung makasa ka. Nya kasagaran sa mga nasilutan kay mga inosente, mga gidudahan, nya mas kadlukan kung napatunayan nga nakasa jud ka. According to the classical school of criminology, all individuals have rights, and society needs to respect the rights of individuals. That means that they should not torture or institute punishment that is unreasonably harsh. For example, if Jordan gets caught stealing the candy, we would expect that his punishment would involve cutting his hands off. That seems a little extreme. According to the classical school of criminology, tanan individual na ay rights nya kailangan ni respeto ang rights sa mga individual. That means di sila magpatuman og silot nga di makatwiran. Nya kung si Jordan daw nangawat og kindi, di nila asahan na ang parusa ay kasangkot sa pagputol ng kanyang kamay. Due process. The idea of due process is that people accused of a crime are considered innocent until proven guilty, and that they have the chance to go to trial and face the judicial system. If Jordan was accused of stealing the candy and then just thrown in jail without a trial, that would be a violation of his due process. Kung ang tao nga gipasanginlan sa usa ka krimen kay inosente gapon, kung dili sure nga siya ba jud, maong kailangan moadto sila sa judicial system. If Jordan was accused sa pagpangawat og kindi nya pagkahuman gilabay dayon adto sa prisuhan without a trial, so nilabag sila sa due process. What is an atavism? You might recall the film Encino Man from the 1990s, which featured a caveman from the Ice Age that was frozen and buried in Encino, California, and was unrated and dispersed early in the film. Thus, an atavism parallel the plight of Encino Man, a person whose biological features and socialization skills are far behind the times of the present day. Biological theories of crime. Linguistic speaking, the term atavism means evolutionary throwback. The term emerged during the 1870s in the Italian School of Criminology. During this time, criminology studies were largely an extension of medical studies, based on observable physical and anatomical characteristics that made these individuals different from the others. The term atavism is most commonly attributed to Cesare Lombroso's work. Lombroso was an Italian physician and criminologist who proposed the notion that criminal behavior was innate and only partly caused by psychological and environmental conditions. In short, he believed that some people were simply born criminal. The term atavism is most commonly attributed to Cesare Lombroso's usa ka Italiano nga physicians and criminologist na nagmungkahi ng paniwala na ang pag-ugali ng kriminal ay likas at tanging partido na dulot ng psikolohikal at kapaligarang mga kondisyon. In short, dito siya nga ang ubantaw gipanganak na kriminal. Victim perception is a criminology theory that analyzes how a victim's interaction with an offender may contribute to the crime being committed. The theory is most commonly associated with crimes like homicide, rape, assault, and robbery. Ang theory ay karaniwang naugnay sa mga krimen tulad ng homicide, manggagasa, pag-atake at pagnanakaw. The phrase victim perception was first introduced by 20th century criminologist Marvin Wolfgang in his article entitled Victim Precipitated Criminal Homicide and This Theory. Wolfgang described the victim as the first in the homicide drama to use physical force against his subsequent slayer. Like our criminologist theory, victim precipitation relates to how and why crimes happens. While most theory focus on the acts and intentions of the offender, victim precipitation seeks to understand the interaction between the victim and the offender. Under this theory, the victim is viewed an active participant in the crime. This happens in two ways. First, the victim is the participant in the crime who acts first, and second, the victim encourages or provokes the offender to commit the crime. These are primary components of the victim precipitation theory. Under this theory, the victim is viewed an active participant in the crime. Nangyari ito sa dalawang paraan. Una, ang biktima ay ang kalahok sa krimen na unang kumilos. Ang pangalawa, hinihikayat o pinupukaw ng biktima ang nagkasala na gawin ang krimen. Consider the following example. Cain and Abel are having a drink at the local tavern. Abel owes Cain money, and as the night progresses, Cain becomes increasingly agitated with Abel's failure to pay his debt. Finally, Cain snaps his shouts at Abel from across the bar, and then charges at him, brandishing a pistol. He fires a shot toward Abel, barely missing his head. Abel pulls a knife and stabs Cain to death as the two wrestle on the floor. Under the victim's precipitation theory, Cain's participation in his own death can be analyzed by applying the theory's two components. First, Cain was the initial aggressor. He started the verbal altercation and he started the physical altercation when he fired his pistol at Abel. Second, Cain clearly provoked Abel. He ran towards him aggressively, intending to kill or seriously injure him. Cain at Abel ay nag-iinuman sa lokal na tavern. Si Abel ay naiutang kay Cain. Habang lumalalim ang gabi, si Cain kay nabalisa sa hindi pagbayad ni Abel sa kanyang utang. So mauto gisinggitan ni Cain si Abel. Pagkahuman gisumbag siya when he fired his pistol at Abel. Second, si Cain clearly provoked Abel. He ran towards him aggressively, intending to kill or seriously injure him. Victim's precipitation theory also relates to interaction that make a victim susceptible to crime. This application of the theory is known as victim facilitation, and it concerns situations where a victim's carelessness makes them more vulnerable to criminal conduct.
Good morning, Sir Alan. I am G-Boy M. Lascunia from Group 1. So today, or in my part, I have to discuss about William Sheldon's theory. So from the word theory, this topic is more interesting for me. So when we say theories, we can get or we can learn something or we can get some new knowledge. So but before that, before anything else, have you ever made a snap judgment based on how someone looked? So like, have you ever made or make a judgment towards someone quickly? No? We know as humans we tend to label folks or describe them in a few words based only on a quick glance. So we usually make a judgment towards someone quickly, like kung unsa itong nakita kadali ato ding i-judge. So knowing that, we also know this system is a flawed. So knowing judging or made a judgment towards someone quickly is not good, which is nakadudulot siya og bati or nakakasama. We know that we can judge people based on their appearances, but some interesting observation on the subject were made by William Sheldon. He is an early American psychologist born on November 19, 1898. So William Sheldon was born November 19, 18. On the subject were made by William Sheldon. He is an early American psychologist born on November 19, 1898. So William Sheldon was born November 19, 1898. Sheldon was a watcher of people who took his observation and formed a theory about them. So mana si William is igor siya mag-observe sa tao and then ara na niya himuan og theory. Sheldon published a system classifying people based on their body types into two documents. The first one is the varieties of human physique in 1942, and the second one is the varieties of temperament in 1942. Sheldon also used his observations of people based on their body types into two documents. The first one is the varieties of human physique in 1942, and the second one is the varieties of temperament in 1942. Sheldon also used his observations to classify body types into the three categories. So the first one is ectomorph, and then the second one is endomorph, and the third one is mesomorph. So let's talk about first the ectomorph. The ectomorph, according to Sheldon, was a thin, introverted person with poor social skills. So those people nga nabilong sa ectomorphs is those people nga introvert and thin, like niwang ka siya, and then introvert person with poor social skills, like person with poor social skills. So those people nga nabilong sa ectomorphs is those people nga introvert and thin, like niwang ka siya, and then introvert person with poor social skills. Like when you say poor social skills, is katong mga tao nga dili kayo medyo ubos-ubos or dili kayo hilig makig-socialize towards someone, no? And then so these characters possess the ectomorph body type. So muna siya ang body type sa people nga nabilong sa ectomorph. So narrow hips, shoulders, face and chest, and then skinny arms and legs, high forehead. So mo to, no? Kung ima-imagine na to ang narrow hips, shoulders and face, chest, and then gagmay kisag arms and legs, and then taas kayo kaning forehead, kaning agtang. So ma-imagine na to is muro siya Mongol kitawan, di ba? So ectomorph were thought to have the following personality character. So ectomorph were thought to have the following personality characteristic. So mo sa ni personality characteristic sa ectomorph. So socially acquired, so as what I've said earlier nga more acquired di siya makigstorya o makighalubilo o mga tao. And then self-conscious, kanang conscious kasi siya galing like more hadlok siya matandugan or kanana gani. And then introverted and private, like hilom sa iyang kahilumon more like private kayong kagalingon, di ba? Kaya di siya makigstorya. And then artistic siya and thoughtful, no? Artistic siya and thoughtful is kadang murag nasin si ma-idea kung sa siya ba mga inana gani. So the third one is the endomorph. Ma-idea kung sa siya ba mga inana gani. So the third one is the endomorph. So now reserve your thinking. What personally jump into your head when you think of Santa Claus? So una-una mo sa Santa Claus ba unsa imong makuan? So mao day kay si Santa Claus is nabilong siya ani sa endomorph, which is having the physical characteristic where pear-shaped or round with wide shoulders and hips, and high body fall in fat areas. High body fat in all areas, including arms and thighs. So imagine tambok isang tibok lawas, like nag-ground ang lawas sa katambok. So no, yun naman sa Santa Claus. So slim ankles and wrist. So sa katambok sa yung lawas, no, nang slim niya sa yung lawas, no, nang slim yung ankles and wrist. So medyo laing kikitaon, di ba? So mura ang mga tao nga mura ganang murag looks ni Santa Claus is nabilong sa endomorph. And then Sheldon thought endomorphic people had personalities that were the first one is outgoing, like easy to approach siya, no? Easy to approach siya. And then funny siya, loving, laid back, attention seeking. Like when we say attention seeking is those people nga patagad, no? Mo to siyang and then the last one is mesomorph. When you think mesomorph, picture Bradley Cooper or Angelina Jolie. The mesomorph is a square body with an active personality and considered a more desirable body and personality. So, makonsider siya nga desirable siya nga body. Like, ano man, like, they have the following physical character siya nga body. Like, ano man, like, they have the following physical characteristics. So, broad shoulders and narrow wrist. So broad kay ang shoulder and narrow wrist. A term or muscular body with a strong feel. So mao ding daw kay mao siyang ka desirable kasi is kay mga kanang mga dagkog lawas no, mga murag mga bodybuilder kay ba. And then this theory, they also had the following qualities. So outgoing sa siya, as nindot paglawas, maskulado niya, easy to approach today, no, courteous, like mga isog kay sila, and full of life, competitive, like competitive kay sila, like makig-compete gud sa ilang life, like kuan gud makiglaban, no, makig-fight gud. And then mesomorph is those people nga risk takers. So mga risky kasi like they have to take risk just to reach their goal or mga dream nila, no, mo take sila risks para sa usa ka butang may nana gani. So that's all. William Sheldon's personality theory was created in 1942. So katutanan is created William Sheldon's during that time in 1942. So that's all, sir. Thank you.
Sir, good evening. My name is Carlo Junel Cornell. I am reporting biochemical theories and distinguished aggressive behavior caused by death, crime, and sugar. Biological theories claim that there are a causal connection between blood sugar levels, antisocial behavior, frequency, and pressure, that poor nutrition affects delinquent behavior. Poor nutrition between delinquency and candidates that affect excessively low levels behavior, nervous behavior, mental confusion, physical weakness, and hypoxemia in case aggressive behavior. 1. What is biological theories? Biological theories is a peer-reviewed scientific journal covering the fields of evaluation of cognition, including cognitive physiology, immunology, physiology of science, physiology of biology, evolutionary biology, and developmental biology. Kining biological theories na sa mga kuan mag kauban siya nga example na physiology, etymology, physiology of science, physiology of biology, mga siya. Tas kuan what is delinquency? Delinquency is a minor crime, especially that committed by young people. And siya delinquency. Tas what is poor nutrition? Poor nutrition. Malnutrition is a serious condition that happens when your diet does not contain the right amount of nutrients. It means poor nutrition can be reserved to undernutrition, not getting enough nutrients, overnutrition, getting more nutrients than needed. Thus, cholesterol and crime. Clinical trials made found the relation between low cholesterol and aggressive behavior in animals. The study conducted in Sweden on 9,797 men and women at the age of 24 to 27 who had police arrest regard for violent crimes found a strong connection between lowered levels of cholesterol and violent behavior. What is cholesterol and crime? Low cholesterol below the median was strongly associated with criminals violence. Moto siya ang cholesterol and crime. And Vitamins and crime. Vitamins and minerals are very important in our regular diet. The assumption of homes can cause difficult theory states that low intake of vitamins minerals can cause delinquent behavior. Vitamins and crime. Vitamins and, vitamins and crime is correlation does not mean causation. causation. Therefore, the term vitamins cause crime is incorrect. Even truth a research study showed that there was a significant positive correlation between taking vitamins and crime rates. It is not taking into consideration other factors. Siya ang vitamins and crime. Tas delinquent behavior mo gyapon to ang kaganihan nga kuan. Tas general inflammatory theories Houghton theory. Ernest Herbert Houghton, November 28, 1887 and May 3, 1954 was an American physical criminologist known for his work Rizal classification. Houghton conducted delayed research on physical and rational classification. Si Ernest Herbert Houghton nag-conducted siya og research physical and social classification. As social classification was an foundation. Social classification was an foundation of all apartheid laws. It placed individuals in one of four groups: native, colored, Asian, or white. In order to illustrate everybody reality under affiliated visitors to museum are elaborately classified to either white or non-white. That's all my report. Thank you.
In number 4, general inferiority theory or Houghton's theory. Ernest Albert Houghton was an American physical anthropologist is known for his work on racial classification. Houghton conducted detailed research on physical and racial characteristics and uses data to develop wide-reaching analysis of the racial components of American Indians and more controversially, to attempt to characterize the physical attributes of criminals. While his efforts to connect the external physical form of people to their internal personality or character had some merit, his simplistic extrapolations to actual behavior was methodologically and logistically flawed. Nevertheless, his academic work established physical anthropology as a scientific discipline in American university, and his writings awakened the general public interested in this field. Houghton advocated a cautious approach to the claims of evolutionary origins of human race, especially after the events connected to the discovery of the Piltdown Man, which was proven to be a hoax and a great slap in the face to scientific community. In light of Houghton's role,
No anthropologist is justified in reconstructing the entire skeleton of an unfamiliar type of fossil man from part of the skull cap, one or two teeth, and perhaps a few oddments of mandible, jawbone, long bones. Inferences concerning the missing parts are very precarious unless more complete skeleton of other individuals of the same type are available to support the reconstruction. Houghton, 1937-1970, 115. Houghton remains famous for his work in criminology, in which he used his work in racial classification and applied it to the area of criminal behavior. Houghton believed in Cesar Lombroso's theory of the born criminal, according to which criminals could be identified based on their physical characteristics. Through his own research, surveying American criminals, Houghton tried to find evidence supporting Lombroso's theories, suggesting that criminals have inferior characteristics compared to people who do not commit crimes. He classified those characteristics into sociological, psychological, physical, morphological, and pathological areas. See Houghton 1939a. For example, according to Houghton, criminals are less often married and more often divorced. Criminals often have tattoos. Criminals have thinner beards and body hair. So, si Houghton ni tuo sa teorya ni Cesar Lombroso na ang usa ka kriminal gipanganak na kriminal. Hayon sa kung saan ang mga kriminal ay maaring makilala batay sa kanilang pisikal na katangian. Sa pamamagitan ng kanyang sariling pananaliksik na nagsusuri sa mga kriminal na Amerikano. Si Houghton iya gisuwayan nga pangitaan og ebidensya aron masuportahan ang teorya ni Lombroso na nagmumungkahi na ang mga kriminal ay may mababang katangian kumpara sa mga taong hindi gumagawa ng krimen. Halimbawa ng katangian ng mga kriminal ayon kay Houghton. Una, ang mga kriminal ay mas madalas nakasal at mas madalas na diborsyado. Pangalawa, madalas na may mga tattoo ang mga kriminal. Pangatlo, ang mga kriminal ay mas manipis na balbas at buhok sa katawan. That's all. Thank you.